It better be good. Conservative teens versus moderates versus liberals. So you mean to tell me that teens are dead ass conservatives, moderates, and liberals? I don't even know what the fuck a moderate is. But liberals and conservatives, bro, you're a fucking teenager. I'm a teenager. I'm fucking streaming, and you're over here being a fucking conservative? What?
Thank you for watching.
And a liberal? And a moderate? Whatever the hell that is? Get a life. Get a life like me.
I do feel our
How old are these
generation
people? I need
is
to know.
heavily misinformed sometimes because of
Are they
social
my age?
media. A lot of the times they just see movements as sort of a trend without looking into them, and I feel that happens.
Our generation is misinformed. Yes. This generation is highly misinformed. Highly misinformed, bro. And I don't even want to get into it.
So much they'll just go with it, and I feel like a lot of the times it makes it very easy for us to kind of just be tailed by the government, and I feel that we need to do a lot better job at looking into things and really reading into things and starting to take facts over feelings.
Yeah, because it's 10 times easier to just look at something and accept it as truth than to go and do your research and find counterclaims or something that aligns with that. Because if you're just sitting there like scrolling through TikTok and somebody says that this is happening, I mean, like, who's gonna? It's not really.
Educate yourself.
Yeah.
I strongly agree with both of you guys. You know, I think the reason why I was hesitant about walking over is even though I agree that our generation is misinformed, that doesn't mean that older generations aren't also misinformed.
Why is he talking like that? Why is he talking like he's Swagger Souls? You're not Swagger Souls, buddy. You're you. Be you. Come on, be you.
Especially, you know, in the form of, for like Gen X and the baby boomers or whatever, cable news in particular. You have millions of Americans now who are tuning in every night to see Tucker Carlson spread misinformation. I don't want to pick on him in particular, but he's an example. Social media is just another example of what's been going on for generations and generations of people, just with all due respect, being too lazy to do their own research.
Bro, my only source of news is Dom is live. That's my only source of news.
And just believing what other people tell them.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you guys, but I also wanted to add that as a generation, we don't have good examples of politicians and how they disagree and agree anymore. When my parents were younger, they used to watch the politicians in the Senate and the House have like great lively debates and come to a conclusion in the end, and you would see how they were speaking and how they bounced off each other's opinions. And now that we don't have that example anymore, we're forced to get our information from social media, and a lot of the news channels these days are heavily biased. And because of that, I feel like as a generation, we're heavily misinformed. My dad and I spoke to each other a lot about politics, and since I was a liberal at that time and he was a conservative, we would have a lot of debates.
I don't understand how you live your whole life just being a loser. I don't even want to say that too, because it's not like, how can you live your whole life as a child being into politics? How? How can you live your whole childhood being into politics? It just doesn't make sense. Like, was that your only personality trait? You were into politics?
Find myself growing and becoming more moderate just because the things he said and the things I listened to and the things I researched because of points that he made to me, I would find myself transitioning into more of a moderate.
America is coming apart at the seams.
Bro,
Out of
where's my
control
fan? It's getting
crime,
cold in here.
out of control energy prices, others' politics forced on.
I disagreed because in 2022, truth is becoming less and less objective and more subjective. And there will always be objective truth, but humanity will stray further and further from that, especially when a lie can be attached to an emotion. You see, we are thinking less and less critically and more emotionally as a whole. And so when you see something like, for instance, George Floyd, May of 2020, that just strikes your heart. First thing you want to do, go to Instagram and post a black square. Now, what is that doing? I don't quite know. But what it made you feel was like you did something to help that poor fellow who got a terrible thing that happened to him.
When I was hearing this question, I was thinking, like, is the majority of, like, my generation, aka the people I know, misinformed? And I would definitely say yeah.
Yeah, yo, that black square shit, I never understood it. Like, yes, I understood that it was like supposed to be like a stand up for, like, BLM, but what did it do? It did nothing, and a lot of people just posted it to post it. A lot of people didn't post it because they cared. A lot of people posted it because they know it was going to get seen by millions of other people. They didn't post it because they actually cared. They posted it because, well, everyone else is doing it. Let me join in too.
I feel like the lack of information is, like, almost as bad as, like, receiving the wrong information.
I want to touch up on something you said. I think it is true that social media did change the way we receive information, whether that is misinformation or the truth. But that doesn't make us misinformed because of that. Obviously, like, yes, you have social media, it's so much easier to get information, but I don't think because we have...
Are they playing this guy's, like, theme music? Like, what's going on? Does he have a theme song?
social media that automatically makes you misinformed.
Are they in like a like where are they? Like they're in like a secret warehouse. My parents influence my political beliefs. Nope. I don't believe in politics at all. So
in a
yeah.
conservative Christian
And my
household in
parents
Iowa,
never really
so
talked
I'm
about it
very,
either.
very well around like conservative politics all the time, and my parents have absolutely influenced like not only my morals but my political beliefs through that manner. And I think a lot of those teachings actually led me to being more progressive and more liberal over time, rather than actually being conservative.
Yeah, for me it's kind of similar. My dad is Christian, but in Vietnam they have this thing where actually like they practice both Buddhism and Christianity. From both religions, both Buddhism and Christianity, it's always taught about like we as a community need to take care of each other, we need to respect each other, and we need to create like the best society we can. My parents not like directly telling me like, oh, you should believe this or you should believe that, but just the way that they have taught morals to me and also their own personal experiences have influenced my own beliefs.
In Buddhism, it's basically what can you do that is the best for others. Of course, not everyone agrees with my beliefs, but regardless of that, I still want them to have happiness in life.
I'd say my parents gave me probably one of the most interesting childhoods out there. I was observant, so I watched my community, and when I saw how things had progressed in my community and then sort of just stopped, especially during the housing recession and crash in 2007 and 8, I had a deep question as to why aren't things getting better. They didn't teach me anything. They let me learn my own way, because if they had taught me something, I wouldn't have had the thirst to know more. I stepped forward because I believe without them, I could have had some other sort of beliefs, but I felt that what they taught me pushed me down my path.
So I became a conservative in 2018, and I became that based off my research. I was actually a liberal before that, just because everyone else around me was a liberal. I would vote for Trump in the upcoming election over Biden or over anyone else that runs against him. He embraces free market economics just like I do. We need less government spending. We need to cut taxes. We need to cut government spending.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I am going to be completely and straight up forward with y'all. I don't think Trump was a bad president. I don't think he was a bad president. Did I agree with what he was going to do in certain remarks? Hell no. Building a wall to border all of Mexico completely off from fucking America? Hell no. But when you take a look at some of the other stuff he has done, he definitely did better things compared to Biden. You feel me? Biden hasn't really done anything like at all. Like I haven't heard anything from Biden at all. I mean, like I yeah, but it's hard to say that because it's also like I'm not into presidents. I'm not into politics. I'm not into any of that. So I don't know what Biden has done. I don't know what Trump has done. I know Trump didn't hesitate to send the military when there was a war going on, though.
And Donald Trump would definitely do that.
Are your parents conservative?
They are actually, but politics never came up in my family before Trump became president. So they did not influence me to be a conservative.
But there were 2 years in between, Trump being inaugurated in 2017, and then if it was like late or mid 2018,
Yeah.
about a year and a half of Trump being in office, running headlines, a lot of big things happening. Are you sure none of that and their commentary at the dinner table maybe didn't influence?
No, I remember 2016 election. They didn't say a thing about who they wanted.
That's hard. That's hard.
I know. I'm telling you, it just didn't come up. And obviously, this country's way more political now than it was 10 years ago. But I'm telling you, I just became a conservative based off my own research.
Our whole entire family is very much on the left, like Democratic, liberal, but my mom, she was not, and she would claim that she was a Republican, but I don't think she knows a damn thing about what that means. But like, she,
Shots fired.
right? But there was a lot of tension, whenever we would talk about certain political things that I would bring up. And then my brother, he's very right-leaning. One day I like came home and they were going through like a journal of mine that was like just of like my liberal views and like Black Lives Matter, stuff like that. And then I realized in that moment, I was like, we aren't on the same page, and I don't think we ever are going to be.
That's crazy. Ooh, hold on. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. I need that. That shit look fire. I'm telling my mom. Oh, I need that. I need that for sure. That's fire ass quarter. That's fire ass quarter zip. What was it? What was the question? Moderates are the solution.
Pretty straightforward. This country functions best when people from all different walks of life.
I don't know what a moderate is.
Like all different political ideologies are able to come together for a greater cause. I believe that the two-party system is a trap. I believe that political parties as a concept are antithetical to democracy.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I also just want to add that I think both parties are a lot
What is
more
he?
radical than they used
she's
to be.
moderate, too.
And I think moderates are helping bridge that gap in between and kind of showing that, you can agree with both parties, which can help, especially in, Senate and House of Representatives, to come up with better policies.
I need to go with a
and
goddamn
to come up with
moderate
better
is and
laws
liberal
that help our
and
people
conservative.
instead of, the
Going
bickering
conservative, but
that
I've
we
never
see
heard of a
among
moderate. And
politicians
I don't
today.
know what any of the three mean. I don't know what the meaning of all three of them.
I just think the problem in America is that we don't have enough political parties. We only have two. That's the problem. It makes us so divided that we have to pick between the left or the right.
Yeah, also I hate this notion that it's always like what's in the middle that's right. I think really we should be looking at whether it's right or not necessarily based upon the fact whether it's right or whether it's left or whether it's in the middle. It should be based upon the arguments. It should be based upon the rationalization.
I love your take on that, but nothing can really ever be right because what's right to one person is not going to be right to the next.
I mean, you can look ideologically at both, and I can say, well, this is this and this is this, but who's to say which is correct? Which is why the problem of parties, I think, can't really be solved by breaking the binary. It's something that is ingrained into us as humans to be team members, to be competitive. Competition is what we are, even when it comes to representing ourselves, leading ourselves, and attempting to better ourselves.
I don't know what the hell he's saying at all. I'm lost here. I'm lost.
So having more teams isn't going to fix that.
Well, why not just eliminate the political party just to achieve, the ability of people to cooperate with each other? Because George Washington warned of political partisanship in his farewell address. He wasn't saying we need more parties. He was saying we need no parties because these political parties force people to believe a certain way just so that they can fit in with their fellow party members.
Well, Thanos snapping away the party system isn't going to get rid of ideological teamsmanship. We are always going to have these issues, and every person, whether they've got a D or an R next to their name, they're going to get, or I say, hey, are you pro or anti-abortion? Okay, get into this. Are you pro or anti-gun? Okay, get into this. You might see some of these groups slightly different, but in the scheme of things, we're still going to have these teams. Even if we have it split up into a million different parties like some of these parliaments in other countries do, what do those parties do when they need to get something done? They form blocs, they form coalitions, which is basically just reducing it back to the binary. We are still going.
Yo, I'm like totally lost here, bro. Like I'm not a politic person. I don't care about politics. You know what I'm saying? I'm not old enough to care about politics. I'm 16. I can't even vote. That's like two more years I could vote, right? In 2 more years I could vote. Like right now, this is like kind of not my motion. Like I don't like, bro. Like I don't care. Like I have no idea what's going on, bro. They using some pretty big words. They using the words they're big. The words they're using is a bit too big for me.
Going to have these binary teams because that is just the way humans work.
So you think politics should embrace the binary system?
Well, but the whole point of what you were saying about how you should make decisions based on individual policy ideas, like are you pro-choice, are you pro-life, if parties are eliminated, people will actually be forced to do research on the politicians who believe in ideas that are closest to theirs.
The kind of extreme, either lefts or even right people, you know, they kind of just slap a label on it, and I feel like moderates do a lot of their own research because they don't necessarily agree with one side, so every problem that comes up, they have to go.
I don't agree with anybody. You feel me? I don't care to agree. How can I put it? Of course, I have views I agree with and views I disagree with. But I'm not, you know what I'm saying, going out there and like preaching my word and preaching to the choir of what I believe. I'm just sitting back and watching the chaos type shit. You feel me? You know, I'll make my opinion in my head and never say it out loud.
And do their own research about it to figure out what side they agree with or what opinion they have on it.
So why did you not agree with Trump?
I'm the type to watch everyone argue, not be in the arguing. I like that one.
Do you think that sometimes having, you know, maybe
I'm the type to watch the arguing.
if we were all on the same page, it's not necessarily
Yeah.
have any progress?
Neither Trump nor Biden were good presidents.
I mean, I don't know.
Ads on YouTube must be so annoying.
I
But with
mean,
3 clicks,
I
you can
can't
install an ad blocker
I can't
and you'll never
say
see ads
that
again.
because I don't know what they did.
My family benefited from a lot of President Trump's policies, but basically what I felt was that a president needs to be presidential. And for President Biden, I just think that personally he's too old to be president. I do think there needs to be a cutoff limit when someone can be president.
Yeah, young people are heavily unrepresented within our country. The average age of an American is around 37 years old, whereas people in Congress are generally above the age of 50 on average. So when people kind of point at Biden to be very old, Trump's also extremely old too. So if we want to put some type of age limit on that, I think that they're both way too old to be president, and obviously we need a lot more representation for younger people.
Neither of them seem to have been particularly popular even within their own parties, Trump to a lesser extent.
Well, Trump was extremely popular amongst his party, whereas Biden has actually lost a lot of that popularity throughout time as people have seen him throughout his presidency. I think there were a lot of things on both the Republican and Democratic side in which these particular figures led to like a larger amount of polarization amongst the public.
Huh? What? What did he say?
I don't like Trump because of a lot of the racist things that he has said. And if you're out making jokes about, oh, I'm going to build a wall, and even if it was serious, that's not something to joke about, and it seems like it's very targeted towards one specific group.
Joe Biden has a much stricter racist history than Donald Trump ever has, and in my opinion, ever will have. During the 2019 presidential cycle, Joe Biden said, if you even think about voting for anybody other than me, you ain't black. And when I learned about the atrocities that the Democrat Party had done, not just to the world and to America, but to...
Did he deadass say that? Wait, hold on. Did he deadass say that? Did he deadass say that? I ain't gonna lie, Joe Biden on time, man. I ain't gonna lie, biting on timing.
My race specifically, it's told me something that I could never, in my opinion, be a Democrat, and it would take a lot to even vote for one. And on top of that, back in the 80s, he was responsible for, as he said, wrote the dang bill, the Clinton crime bill, which was responsible for throwing a lot of people that look like us in prison. This guy is weird.
I mean, within your statement, you didn't necessarily acknowledge any of the racist
This guy's weird.
history in relation to Trump as well. So if we're only going to put eyes on like either Trump or Biden, I see that not necessarily to be like the most consistent framework for looking at this.
Of course, and I understand why you say that, but she didn't actually provide any examples of a history. She provided a media mismanagement of what he said in 2015/16, talking about immigration. But every time Trump tries to talk about this, they call him a racist and a xenophobe.
I come from a family that is of immigrants. My grandparents don't speak English, and they are from Mexico. And a lot of the time, people were bashing Trump for that being a racist thing. He's trying.
You know what's crazy about Trump? And that I never understood? Yo, the Hispanics love that motherfucker, bro. The Hispanics loved Trump. Yo, the Hispanics loved him. They loved him. I'm Hispanic. I don't know what they found appealing about him. But the Hispanics loved Trump. I don't know what he did to make them love him. And I need to find out because the Hispanics loved Trump for some reason. And I don't know why. He had them crying for him. He had them crying for him, bro. That level of pull on Hispanic people is crazy, bro. It's crazy. Only Hispanic singers had that level of pull on Hispanics. It was crazy how much pull he had on Hispanics. Absolutely crazy.
Trying to keep them out, but he's only trying to keep the criminal individuals, such as drug lords or people sending drugs to our country.
At the same time, though, it's sort of like disingenuous to say that the immigration policies are just keeping the bad people out, because at the same time, it's almost impossible for most people to emigrate to the United States legally.
Billionaires can solve problems better than the government.
Hell no. I mean, are we talking about smart billionaires or are we talking just about billionaires?
Capitalism will always be more superior than the public sector in almost like 90% of things in this country. Billionaires obviously they have a lot of money, but what I see is that billionaires are using their money for philanthropy. They don't want to pay taxes, I see that, because they just feel like if the government takes their money, they're not going to do good with the money. A great example would be Amazon. I mean, it has revolutionized the way we shop.
I think the key word in the prompt is billionaires can, affect positive change better than the government. I don't think it's a guarantee that they will, because I think there are certain instances of billionaires doing good with their money. But then there are also, I know you mentioned Jeff Bezos, but he also often doesn't use his money for good, because there are many reports of Amazon employees being mistreated, denied breaks.
And didn't he go to space for just no reason? Didn't Jeff Bezos go to space for just no reason at all? Like he just wanted to go. He just picked like 4 random people and just went to space for no reason and came back. Bro spent like a lot of it's a lot of money to go to space. Like I can imagine it's a lot of money to go to space, especially like space. Like it's space. It's a rocket ship. He paid for a rocket ship. Got 4 people to go with him to space. I'm pretty sure he spent at least, way more than $5 million.
And, issues where
probably
it's like,
even
come on,
over $1
you
billion.
have all that money. Do you need so much more from cutting corners like that?
These billionaires can do fantastic things, but I also understand that government regulations, taxes, and various other things occupy their time. I don't believe billionaires should be heavily taxed. I believe the tax cuts we had in 2018 were some of the best things we saw for our economy.
I completely would agree with you that we shouldn't be taxing billionaires at such a high rate. If you tax billionaires, they would respond by increasing the prices of goods and services. I think the reason why everything is so expensive is inflation. But in the past, when inflation was low, there were times where things were very expensive. And that is because of the fact that we have high corporate tax rates in some states.
Well, so I respectfully disagree with the idea that taxing billionaires, or specifically leaving billionaires untaxed, is beneficial to the American economy, because the most prosperous era for the American economy was the 1950s, the post-war economic miracle. That was when billionaires were being taxed at a rate of 90%. And this isn't socialism or anything. This was under American capitalism, under a Republican president, Dwight Eisenhower.
And this was right after a fantastic, I hate to say fantastic war, but it was a fantastic war for us in which we got so much American pride, and that Republican president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, then utilized that money that he taxed from those billionaires to create a great system, which is the interstate system, which is a fantastic thing that connects our country. But unfortunately, the government isn't really investing money in things like that anymore. It's investing money in weird programs and things that the average American isn't going to benefit from.
But here's the sorry state of America. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
So billionaires do have a lot of money and a lot of influence in order to do good within our economy, but nowhere near the ability of the government. If we're talking about billions of dollars, the government has access to trillions of dollars on a federal scale, like yearly speaking. Yeah, in some circumstances like Mark Cuban, they absolutely can do those things. It doesn't anywhere near compare to the level of access of healthcare that they do have in these other countries.
And it doesn't compare to the damage that will happen to the average American when the government decides to pull trillions of dollars out of nowhere, because we have...
I mean, I think this dude's just, can y'all see him? I don't think y'all can see him.
We have to remind ourselves the government makes nothing. The government takes from every single citizen standing in this room that pays taxes each and every day, including state governments and federal governments. They start throwing trillions at random things like, I don't know, healthcare for everybody, which can work for a country that's the size of maybe South Carolina, but will not work for the size of our country.
Yeah, I would say that's because our government actually mismanages money comparative to other nations. We spend a lot in terms of our per capita on healthcare, like more than other countries, yet they actually have better health outcomes and they cover more people. So I do think there are lots of things that the United States could do better comparative to other countries. We can learn a lot more from those other countries, and yet we don't do that because of this idea of American exceptionalism.
When you were talking about how it's much easier to
I'm so lost in this conversation. I probably understood about 5 things so far, and we're 18 minutes in.
manage a country that's smaller, that's completely true. Whatever the national government does doesn't really affect me. And that's why, for me, I'm a very strong participant in my own local government. Because you can, act.
This guy, right? This guy just seems happy to be here. He's just been laughing and all smiles the whole video, bro. He's just happy to be here.
Actively go there and talk about what you want things to budget.
Oh, y'all want a cheeseburger.
It allows you to actually see tangible effects.
Ever forgotten to record the game-winning play, an amazing ace, or maybe a sick juke? Now you won't need.
Yo, bro, I've been wanting to point this out for a minute. Hopefully he comes up. He is not coming up.
The Supreme Court is full of older people, which is why I just feel like if we were to bring some newer, fresher justices in there, they would understand what we're seeing more. Because as an older person, yeah, you can do your research, but you won't.
See, here's the problem with the Supreme Court, though. Those people can't quit. It's a lifetime job. They can't quit. The Supreme Court, they cannot quit. They cannot quit their job. It is a lifetime job until they get fired or die. That's the only way out of the Supreme Court. Fired or die.
Experience things the way that we're experiencing them at this moment.
Yeah, I agree. And also, the original intention of the Supreme Court was
they literally can't even retire either. They can't retire. It's fired or die.
Be a nonpartisan, strictly legal governing body. Anything is contingent now on how many people on the Supreme Court have R's next to their names and how many people have D's next to their names.
I don't think the Supreme Court makes decisions based off what society wants. They make decisions based off what the law says. The Supreme Court is a
my boy Miles Brown. How you doing, Miles? Yo, Miles Brown. This is bro. He dead like Miles Brown.
Political branch.
I so disagree with that. The executive branches and legislative branches weren't really necessarily created to be political either. They were created to.
Did y'all see Miles Brown dressed up as fucking Cardi?
Create laws
I
so that
gotta
you
show
can
you after the
live
video.
moral and just lives. The Supreme Court and the judicial branch as a whole is something that was created to be nonpartisan, but unfortunately that's not realistic in 2022 anymore. And that's why I don't say they're out of touch, because we're all out of touch. And if everybody's out of touch, then we're all in touch, right?
Well, not necessarily. It would just mean all of us are out of touch.
If you look at the foundation of this country, there were political parties within the executive branch and the legislative branch. There were no political parties in the Supreme Court, never.
Yeah, so like in terms of the founding fathers, they were heavily against political parties. I think the process outside of the Supreme Court of how we determine Supreme Court judges is like the messed up process, not necessarily the Supreme Court in of itself.
I just think that we should never politicize the Supreme Court.
Really the best thing we can do in this situation is try to make general public a lot more a part of the process of determining whether or not these justices should be in that place based upon not only their merit, but also like the things they're advocating for. But rather than it being based upon like specifically the political parties, we need a multi-party democracy so that multiple different sides are looked at different times and say, I want to pick a libertarian, or I want to pick a social democrat, or a socialist, or a liberal, right? There are lots of different options that we should have in order to have more of a competitive political marketplace.
But wouldn't it make it more political for the people to choose their judges?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm pretty sure we do vote in the people that pick the Supreme Court justice.
You vote for the
We
president.
vote for the president, but
And
those are for other
the
topics
senator
in
that
particular,
also
not
burn-
necessarily like jurisprudential or like law in particular.
I'm hopeful about my future in this country.
You know, I am going to be an amazing streamer. I'm going to be
Here in the United States,
yo,
we have
I'm
the
going to be
ability and the
up there, bro.
opportunity to
I'm
be the
telling you,
best
I'm gonna be
nation in the world and live up to all
I'm
the
telling you, bro, I'm gonna
ideals
make
that
it in
we
this
grew
streamer
up with and
shit.
thought that we had.
I
Look at all of us.
I
We're willing
put
to have a
my-
conversation,
I
whereas
mark
years
my
ago, we might not have
words.
sat down. We might have hated
I
each other for
mark
having
my
different types of beliefs.
words.
So I really think that shows the type of growth potential that the United States has in particular.
I personally think I have a great future in this country, especially being a woman, because I can sit here and wear what I want, say what I want, and have just as many rights and equal facilities as you do, as in other countries. That's not awarded to all women or even all people. And I feel that our country gives us some of the most privilege in the world.
So for me right now, I live a great life. I have a house, I have a cat, I have 2 dogs, and it's great. But I feel like things could always be better, you know? And I think that's what I like about this country, is that we have a government where we can actively participate in, and we can make the changes that we want to see.
I actually switched from Chrome to Opera GX a while ago just because I was so tired of Chrome being the absurd resource hog that it is.
I think that I am very scared for my future.
I feel like bro is high. Like I feel like he's high as fuck on this shit, bro. I feel like he's high as hell on the set.
I grew up
I feel
2
like he
hours
smoked a doobie and got on this bitch.
away from a Ku Klux Klan headquarters, if that tells you anything about where I grew up. There's probably less than the amount of fingers I have on my hands of people of color in my school. There was a lot of racial heat that I got growing up, and it forced me to grow up a lot faster than I thought that I'd have to. If you look up Harrison, Arkansas, it's known as one of the most racist cities in America. And
Let's see. Harrison, Arkansas. Harrison, Arkansas. I'm not seeing anything. Most racist. Yeah, the most racist. Okay, so it is.
you can see, if you're on TikTok and you see, we visited the most racist city in America, that's going to be Harrison, Arkansas.
Oh, that's the place that Gideon and went to.
There's white. But whenever my mom would drive through Harrison when we were going somewhere, she would put a blanket over my crib while we were in that city just because she felt unsafe for me. And whenever I hosted the Black Lives Matter protest, a lot of members from that Ku Klux Klan organization in Harrison were making groups saying that they were going to come up and harass us and harm us. And it's a very scary thing because you read about the Ku Klux Klan in history books. It's a very different thing to hear them personally tweeting out to you that they are going to come and that they're going to harm you. As much as our country is growing, I'm also not going to invalidate the fact that there is a lot of issues that are still stemmed very deep in a lot of people's brains that are still being acted out upon and causing me to feel uncomfortable to live in my country.
As a black woman, I just feel like being anywhere in the world. It's not just America. There will always be somebody who does not like a person of color, and there will always be someone who wants to assault a woman. We are making progress, but in the same way, we can always go backwards. In Detroit, I just was not happy. Being around white kids at school, I think they are taught to believe that black people are maybe lower than them, and even if it's not taught, it's something ingrained just in society.
As someone who is not, quite as dark as you, but lives kind of a similar lifestyle, I'm trying to say is that I understand. I really do.
I'd say y'all equally that amount of
still
dark.
a thing that can be stronger than ever, especially with the benefit of social media. I think it's something that we need to grow past if we're going to make the world better for our children. But I think we're also right here, which is a very diverse group in and of itself, but I think we're going to be one of the least racist generations ever, which kind of goes without saying. And I think this will be the century that is just completely.
I mean, hell yeah, bro. Like, you seen how many people got canceled for dropping the N? For dropping the NR and the hard R? You see how many people get canceled? Like, every day? Golly.
Eradicated, at least.
I mean, like, you need a goddamn DNA test to see what exactly of how much you are, bro, to get out of situations like that, bro.
Systemically.
Well, I hope you're right. And it obviously is a privilege to live in the United States, but I think we're going down a very dangerous path. Freedom of speech is under attack in this country. Freedom of thought is under attack. The standard of living has decreased dramatically. People aren't doing better today than they were 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
I mean, Kanye is losing everything right now because he had something to say about the Jewish people. Kanye West, yes. Yeezy founder, the maker of Runaway, you feel me? Top producer, top rapper in the world, man. Just as big as Jay-Z, even probably bigger. The man who married Kim Kardashian. Kanye West is losing every single partnership he has ever had in his life.
I mean, we're doing worse off now. Like, what are you looking at in terms of how did you determine whether or not we're doing worse off?
Well, there's so many things to look at. One of it is how divided we are politically. But at the end of the day, we are the future. And I hope that we don't follow what they're doing. I hope that when our generation goes into Congress, I hope that we're not so politically divided as they are now.
One thing that gives me a lot of hope is just like all of us right now here.
I hope a TikTok girl and a TikTok e-boy don't get into Congress, man. I really hope that. I hope to God that doesn't happen.
We're all from different backgrounds. We've all had different stories in our past, but we're all here and we're all having a conversation and we're all listening to each other. We're all getting our ideas out. And in the end of the day, I think this is giving me hope for the future because this is what's going to change.
Most of my friends have the same political beliefs as I do.
I don't have any political beliefs, so.
I came from a very conservative and Republican city and state in Arkansas, and I grew up around a lot of people who did not have the same beliefs as me at all. And a lot of the people that I would try to keep in my circle who did have different beliefs were blasting me on private stories and stuff like that and making me feel like I was dumb.
It's really hard for me to make friends that are from the liberal side, as immediately they hear or even see my political views or even my religion, they immediately try to shut me down. They send me death threats. They put stuff in my bag saying they're going to kill me. They've poured paint in my bag and shaken it up. When COVID happened and things were starting to shut down and the incident with George Floyd happened, everybody started looking through everyone's profiles, their family's profiles, especially when these protests were going on. And there was a picture of my dad and my family, all of us together, and he was wearing a Trump shirt. I was getting a lot of death threats, a lot of encouraging me to commit suicide, threatening to do unspeakable things to me and my family, threatening to find my address and hurt them. I could, in fact, say almost all of them were liberals. It makes it really, really hard because the minute that you're different from them, at least in my experience, they shut you down immediately. So I just kind of close myself off and I stay friends with the people that are going to respect me and respect my views.
When I came out publicly as a conservative in 2018, it was probably one of the hardest years I've ever went through. At my school, having my opinions while looking like I did was a non-starter. I received so many obviously negative messages. They called me some terrible things, which I don't even think I can say on here, but all the phrases that you've heard, get thrown at black conservatives simply for having their ideas and make it look like I'm some sort of slave simply for having my opinions, making it seem like I can't think for myself because I am black, not understanding that they're perpetuating the exact same racism that they think they're fighting against by calling me those words.
I'm from Thousand Oaks, California, and I've met people who are like pretty hardcore conservatives. I feel like all of us, when we come and have these discussions, we all just want what's best for this country.
So, I'm sorry, but how can you be like, I don't understand this, bro. Like, you're telling me you and your friends sit down and have political debates for fun.
Country. And of
That's like
course,
so like
we all have
what,
our
bro?
own
Like
ideas
play a
of how to
video
achieve
game,
that,
bro.
but in
Play
the
a
end,
board
we
game. Go
want
out
a
to the
world
mall or
that's
something.
everyone can benefit from. And of
Jesus,
course,
go watch a
unless
movie.
you are able to discuss with other people your different
What are you
opinions
doing
with
having debates? What the
things and talk about the reasons why you believe certain ways, you can't make any
Go out and play
progress.
fucking laser tag or go to the
I strongly
arcade or
agree.
something, man. Go to
And
Dave
so
and
personally,
Buster's, bro.
I'm
Go to
from
Chuck E.
New
Cheese.
Jersey. You can probably figure out I have a predominantly left-leaning friend group. I never really took issue with that because it's. I feel like at the end of the day, you shouldn't be exclusively talking about politics with the people you're friends with. Especially, it's concerning to me that, based on recent studies, a growing plurality of Americans simply refuse to be friends with people who are of different political affiliations from them. That, if anything, says very concerning things about our country, especially because, that this level of political polarization that we're seeing now hasn't been matched in American history since the antebellum era of the Civil War.
That was a pretty good video. I feel like I learned some things.